Welcome back to Healing Waters of Bethesda. My name is Michael, and this is part of a 10-part series from the desert to the promised land. And we're in number 8 right now, and this is Home Sweet Home. And I'm going to give you guys a tour of this place and kind of give you a brief overview of my old room to just kind of give you a comparison of where I came from, if you will. So before that, let's get into the teaching today. And first off, I came from Jericho. Didn't know it was Jericho at the time, but the Lord started having me go through a process. He started first speaking to me about, through a dream, saying, as you fast and pray, your bells will increase. And he was also referring to, as it was being said, as the bells will increase, it was also overlaying with your breasts will increase also. And for a woman, that's kind of like the seat of love that talks about in the Song of Solomon. My lover lays in between my breasts. It's kind of like the seat of love. All right? And for the bells, it's kind of like the priestly garment. As they would go into the Holy of Holies, they would have bells, and as they would walk, they would jingle. So you imagine, if you have a really bigger bells, you're going to be making a lot more noise into the Holy of Holies. And what does the Lord say? It's like, come boldly unto the throne of God. All right? So I was praying for bells and all that stuff, and in a sense, bigger breasts, if you want to put it that way. But it's kind of embarrassing to say that. But anyways, or basically a bigger seat of love for the Christ in that sense. So, but as I was fat, he basically had me fast for 40 days after all this. So he first starts talking about how as you fast and pray, it would increase. Well, then he's like, okay, now it's time to fast and pray for 40 days. And it's like, let me know through a dream, now is the time to fast and pray. And I'm like, oh no, okay, what am I fasting and fasting of? And it was basically 40 days with no video games and no Sudoku or puzzle games on my phone. I couldn't play any video games on my phone. No video games on my computer. I don't have gaming consoles really, but still, no video games for 40 days. I'll tell you, that first week I was like, alrighty, Lord, this is some heat here. So that was basically my 40 days of sacrifice and prayer and fasting that I was doing. Well, lo and behold, that 40 days was ending on the Feast of Tabernacles. So as I'm going into the Feast of Tabernacles the first night, so as like midnight was happening, I'm sleeping in my tent, my fast was ending. And so I brought my sacrifice into the Feast of Tabernacles. And then the Lord started referencing to me, kind of like letting me know, it's like, okay, your tent is just like the tent in the desert, the tabernacle that was set up in the desert place. I'm like, okay, Lord, I understand. I usually put a tent inside of a tent to kind of help with the weather because it's usually cold around that time. And so I'm like, okay, Lord, I understand the first one. You know, you went through the first veil, then there was the second veil, which is the holies place you would enter into. But Lord, I'm like, there is no third tent to go into the Holy of Holies. And then the Lord just let me know, you are the tabernacle. So as I was stepping into, going into one tent, into the other tent, I was the tent. And so therefore, the Holy of Holies was inside of me, with the priestly garment and the spirit man, if you will, bringing with the bigger bells, because I was fasting and praying, with the sacrifice, they would bring the sacrifice into the Holy of Holies. My sacrifice was 40 days of no video games. That was the sacrifice I was bringing into the Holy of Holies. And so I was like, okay. So after the Feast of Tabernacles, I really felt like it was time to hit that payment. And I haven't really looked at any houses since then, but I just felt like that impression, like it's time to go. God was giving me a dream that the interest rates were going to start increasing, and sure enough, they've already started increasing for getting home loans and all that stuff. Thankfully, I kind of beat that process, and the Lord guided me through that. But in this whole ordeal, as I came to this house, because I actually had my niece come with me to look at several houses. I just felt like that was kind of more God directing me, because I had been looking through so many houses. It was a good thing to have her, to see it through her eyes, because originally I was not planning to see this house at all. I hadn't even requested it, but a couple other houses fell through to be able to look at, so it was like, the Lord kind of impressed upon me to look at this one. I'm like, okay. And so even before that, God was like, okay, well, what about this house? And he was just kind of pointing out, I was like, hey, yeah, I kind of like this one house, Lord. It's got a really big living room. And I actually got a big living room now. But I think he was kind of like, he was kind of pointing out, it's like, yeah, you kind of like that, don't you? It's like, yeah, I kind of do. And so even though that one house fell through, I still kind of fell in love with the idea of a big living room. And so I think I was kind of preparing me and letting me know, it's like, hey, this is kind of what you like. Kind of like a gentle nudge here and there. So I finally looked at this house, and that night I had a dream. I was in the sunroom, and basically I said in the dream, this is my house, and every man is this is my home, and every man is a liar. And if you read Romans 3, 3:4, God forbid, yet God be true, but every man a liar, as it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged. So, God had declared in heaven that this was my home. Alright? But everybody else was saying my other place I was living was my home. But that wasn't true. God was saying, this is your home now. Alright? If you kind of get that. I hadn't signed any papers, hadn't even placed a bid yet. But God was saying, this was your home. And so now, every man that called the place I was previously living at that time was a liar, because that was not the truth. God said that was your home now. So that's kind of an interesting tidbit there. What God says is true. And every man is a liar. So, as I went up to battle with AI, if you will, because this is what AI happened. The first time I went through that before I was going to sign for it, what ended up happening is the mortgage company, they thought it had everything was okay, but then everything was not okay, so no fault on my fault. But the first time I went to battle, all fell through. The second time, now I'm not going into all the details of it, but it looked like it was going to be a complete failure the second time, and that was more on my part and stuff. But several miracles, in a sense, kind of happened, and I remember the realtor saying, this is kind of like one of the most fly-by-your-seat kind of signings I've ever been through. And she was a Christian, too, so, I mean, but I kind of felt like, yeah, I wonder what she would say about all that. But that was kind of like the battle of AI. It's kind of like you thought it was going to go one way, but it ended up turning out to be the other way. And thankfully, I got the place, and it's been a blessing. So, yeah. So at this time, I'm going to show you guys briefly around the house. And one more thing also, when I end up siding for the house, ended up on the first day Feast of Tabernacles. And usually during the Feast of Tabernacles, the Jewish parents would give their gifts to their children. And I kind of felt like this was God's gift to me. I'm his child, he's the parent, and this is his gift to his child. So, roll on to the house. Like 3 months after I moved out, my room got taken over after I emptied it all out. I did have a bed in here, I had my computer stand, and yeah, I usually did my computer stuff on my bed because there was nowhere else to be. But you can see there's a couple dressers there. There's an empty bookshelf for the most part, because he had to move it. But as you can see, this is where I used to live. Alright. And hopefully you saw the other video of me with the other room that I used to live in. And we're going to go out here. This is my sunroom. Alright. So yeah, there's some stuff. Oh, there's some rocks of mine. And so yeah, I got a nice sunroom. And matter of fact, the previous house I was at was about 600. This is about 1,800 square foot. So almost about 3 times the size of the previous place that I lived in for over 40 years. And this is my room, and I actually don't have a bed right now. Well, not a bed for this, but this is kind of cool. This came with the house, all the furniture and everything, and yeah. Hey! So yeah, this is my bathroom, and I do have stuff kind of like, you know, winterizing stuff with the windows. And so yeah, this is my big old living room here. And yeah, that's kind of my bed right now. So, and that's actually what I used for quite a while, actually, for just my bed. But yeah, even the desk, the couches came with it, the chair over there, the other couch came with it. I don't have a TV, but I really don't want a TV. I don't feel a need for it. But yeah, this is my computer desk that came with it, and a chair also. That's awesome. And the tables came with it. So yeah, I do actually have an upstairs, but it's a little messy, so we're not going to show that. But do have a nice little kitchen, and yellow is one of my favorite colors. So hey, oh, some plants I have, but yeah, so this is my kitchen and all that stuff, and the fridge came with it, so I didn't have to buy a fridge. Got a washer and dryer with the place, and yeah, all that stuff too. I got my water heaters over there. Here we go outside. It came with the 2-car garage also, which has actually been useful because you know, it's a nice place to actually do some car repairs in there. And I don't know about you, but I actually have a furnace outside, which is an industrial sized heater and / cooler, just because the house is so big, and they actually installed this to heat the house because, yeah, an industrial size heater. Kind of neat. Red maple tree there, a few flowers are growing, you know. So hey, that's kind of cool and pretty looking. But that's my house the Lord has blessed me with. So, alright. Well, anyways, God bless. Bye.